dangerous zones. Imagine fetching even a pot of water is a huge challenge for them. And if you quickly go back to Chipko movement, okay, and if you get that images that why it were women who were holding the trees, why men were not holding the trees. So definitely there is a very, very strong connection between women and climate and earth. Of course that తెలుగులో కూడా చెప్తారు, హిందీలో కూడా చెప్తారు, పురుష ప్రకృతి. సో women is a symbolic of prakriti, whether it is feminine nature, whether it is your environmental nature. So Sirisha madam has done a huge job by presenting the trajectory. I don't think it would have been easy for any one of us to do that. So friends, like we all are aware that COP28 is happening. From one onwards, different speakers were speaking about it. Now why it is important for us to discuss, now COP, Conference of Parties, is happening in Dubai. Conference of People has to be held at a local level. So we all are aware that COP28 is a kind of a regulatory monitoring mechanism trying to take a stock of situation that what is happening at global level. So when we try to understand at local level, at the national level, we definitely see that rising temperature, sea levels. In fact, the latest IPCC report, if you have gone through Intergovernment Panel on Climate Change report, it says that almost 12 cities in Indian coastal areas, they will be 3 feet underwater. So probably sitting in Pramada Devi seminar hall, you might not actually understand the seriousness of the problem, but if we just give a thought to the people who are living in those coastal areas, the problem will be very, very severe and serious. So vulnerable groups are most hit. Even if I don't feel that women are vulnerable and are second to none, but at a social level we have to accept, because most of the women, our resources are dependent on natural resources. So that is why that vulnerability increases, and that is why women also bear the burden of adaptation and climate change. So climate change threats, most of us, we are aware, friends, it would be leading to more of food security issues and also energy resources. Though Government of India is making massive efforts through Ujjwala Yojana to provide gas cylinders and all, but today also there is a significant chunk of women population especially who will be cutting down their trees and trying to have some fuel so that they can take care of the cooking part. So energy resources is also a very important challenge, and the burden is again on women. Then in terms of impact on livelihoods and water resources, as I just told you, that even if India has been very successful in sending its mission to Mars, and we are on Sun also, close to Sun, but it is also a reality that there are women, at least 30 to 40% of women, who have to walk 10 to 20 miles to get a pot of pure drinking water for their family. So water resources, water challenges are going to multiply because of the impact of climate change, and there is burden of care giving and also severe hardships due to the environmental degradation. And ultimately the takeaway from this particular slide is women bear disproportionate burden of climate change. Now why this is happening like this? Why are we only talking about women? Is it not that men are not facing the burden? They are equally facing, but our social structure is such. So that is why we have to understand that in terms of social structure, women are affected differently when compared to men, because women are also the primary caregivers, and there is lot of underrepresentation in decision making. Whether it is decision making at COP local level or whether it is decision making at Conference of Parties, there though United Nations makes it women leaders are there, but there also we are seeing some element of underrepresentation. Gender biases are there, and a very, very important factor here which you can see is Women, though they predominate the food production all over the world, but they own less than 10% of the land. So when we do not have that kind of economic resources, but lot of social burden, then imagine the situation. And natural resources, women dependence on natural resources for livelihood is very, very high. And if you can see that in northeastern India, almost 50% of workforce, agricultural workforce is from agriculture. And during extreme weather conditions, the challenges further multiply. Now, when we try to understand vulnerability of women, see, various factors, socially, culturally, women are vulnerable, and in that the climate change further adds to lot of stress for women existence also. So it also includes, let's say, in terms of disaster, whether it is a natural disaster or man-made disaster, women migration is relatively very less when compared to men migration, because women are also the family givers for that matter. And apart from the climate changes, if you place yourself, don't think globally, place yourself at a family level, at a society level, at a community level, I'm sure our thoughts will definitely go to different levels of inequalities which we face at a day-to-day level. Apart from that, there are issues connected with human rights, issues connected with political and economic status. To what extent are we economically empowered? To what extent are we politically empowered? And then exposure to violence, education and health. And during conflict seasons, now you might wonder that we are talking about environment, then why am I bringing the concept of conflict? Friends, if you just close your eyes for a moment, two major wars are there in front of our eyes, Russia-Ukraine war and Palestine and Israel war. So don't you think the worst hit are women there? So women are socially, politically, culturally vulnerable, and to that the challenges of climate change further intensifies the problem. And I'm sure you all might have heard about Mahila, 2018 woman who got the Nobel Peace Prize. She was the lady who was arrested, who was kidnapped by the ISIS terrorists. She was in captivation for 6 months, constantly sexually violated, raped, and she was the victim because one of the major sources of funding of ISIS is human trafficking, especially women trafficking. Somehow this girl could run away from that, and she had that courage to tell her story of exploitation, and for that she received the Nobel Prize. Though this example is not connected with climate change, what I'm really trying to impress upon all my young friends here is women. But her ecosystem is very, very complex, highly multidimensional, and to that the climate change further adds lot of stress. Now, the last point, though personally we may not agree with it, but definitely women are less able to confront climate change. It is because I'm talking from political point of view. And in the next slide I'm trying to be a little more optimistic, because I don't believe that women are less for that matter. So here, now this is the call we have to from, like Madam said that from Mahila Vishvavidyalayam, even Sir mentioned that we should be the torch bearers. So whether we want to be victims or whether we want to be climate entrepreneurs. Definitely women, and let us not confine only our thinking to Indian context. Let us reach out to what is the condition in Saharan countries, African countries, where women are not only facing the social political conflict, but no food to eat, immense starvation, and on that they are definitely victims, but how they are taking up their day-to-day fights. So definitely we have, despite the vulnerability, I started my presentation saying that we are vulnerable, but definitely we can be the change makers, because it is the woman who is the founder of the family, and founder of the family, founder of the community. If not leader, but still we have a great way to go to adapt to climate changes. This is something very interesting. I want all my friends to pay attention here. I know it is difficult to be a good listener from morning 10 o'clock onwards. It's not so easy. But this is a point I want to all. I'm sure you all are aware of ganglion. Okay, if you have botany friends here. Now, this picture is of a very powerful woman. Not because she was the former president of Ireland, but because she was the one who started a very interesting movement which was called as the Elders Group of Eminent Leaders, whereby she brought in a lot of women entrepreneurs to bring about climate change. So she thought that dandelion should be the symbol of that particular movement, because it is the dandelion which is the only flower weed that grows in all the 7 continents, and it is very resilient. So we are looking at a lot of climate resilience, right? So that is why she appropriately felt that it can be a symbolic of the movement. Something which is little disturbing in the second part of the slide, if you can see, that less than 2% of total climate investment in 2021, just 2 years back, was gender responsive. Friends, you talk about COP28, or let us talk about COP at local level. The bottom line of anything and everything apart from our willpower is also the finances. Because no matter how strong is our willpower, until and unless we have financial resources to address these kind of challenges, things will not move much, whether at a grassroots level or whether it is at a global level. And this is something, a disturbing trend, and I am sure COP28 in one of its discussions, because in COP28 there is also one day dedicated to what you call as Gender Day, this point has been discussed and debated. And let us be hopeful that next time, the next COP, our gender responsive budgeting increases. Now I would like to highlight few points connected with COP28 and how gender comes into picture here. Is COP28 is focusing, COP28 means the discussions at Dubai level, it is focusing on gender mainstreaming. That means how do we bring women into mainstream decision making? Because it is believed, and even research has proven that, I'm not saying this just because I'm a woman and we are in Women University, research also has proven that women leadership definitely makes a much larger difference. So gender mainstreaming is being focused to a great extent, and gender disaggregated data. So here if you are able to have a strong data with regard to how gender and climate change is getting affected. So COP28 is focusing a lot on better quality of data, because we all understand here that good data is the base of a strong policy. So if a lot of focus on data is taking place, then gender responsive financing. So I will also talk in next slide. And gender responsive just transition, launching a joint commitment to support advanced gender equality through just transitions. Friends, if you all can recall, even in sustainable development goal number 5, we are talking about gender equality. So we have to bring together all these aspects into one framework. So if we are talking about gender equality, that is not going to happen without political will and without financing. So probably COP28 is doing a good job there. Now everyone, this is not a spelling mistake, don't think local is a spelling mistake, it is a term which is combination of thinking global and local. So global sociology term we basically use, and in most of the discussions which surrounds climate change and gender, we talk about 3 strategies, which is adaptation, mitigation and engagement. This is spoken in almost all the COPs, and more so in COP28 also we are talking about this. So even if we try to understand at local level that how should we adapt to to the climate changes, which includes our natural resource management as well as how do we address the different kinds of risks and vulnerabilities. And when it comes to mitigation, how are we going to address this? So we are talking about energy efficiency, which our Honorable VC Madam already addressed in her gathering, in her speech, that how energy efficiency is one of the most important ways. That is India is doing wonderful with regard to solar power. Solar energy, I think India is making very good efforts to further strengthen that also. And how we are going to bring about changes with regard to clean development management, which basically talks about our waste management and engagement. Today is the best example of engagement. Most of us, we have become like with the help of presentation of Sirisha Madam, we got an idea of what is the trajectory. So definitely we are at a better capacity of understanding things. So this is one of the best examples of capacity development, engaging with community. And I think CGR is doing a wonderful job by connecting with young children, young students, and that is where you are able to develop the capacity and also focus on participation. And when you talk about financing, so gender and climate financing, we need to integrate this, and for that this financing is really required to reduce emissions and advance gender equality and women's enjoyment in their human rights, because you only talk about political empowerment and you don't make her economically empowered, then all those claims of political empowerment are null and void. So I think we have a long way to go there, my dear friends. We have definitely come a long way, but still a long way to go. That is why, in Hindi they say, थोड़ा है, थोड़े की ज़रूरत है. तो थोड़ा हम आगे हैं और थोड़ा और चलना बाकी है हमको. And here digital literacy can play a very, very important role. So greater usage of technology, we need to bring in digital literacy, and I'm so glad, and I'm sure you all are aware, I think there is no Indian family without Amul butter or Amul products, right? So Amul Milk Union Limited is one of those women-run cooperative societies. So see, women have got tremendous ability and capacity. It's only a matter of providing her the right kind of platform. So digital literacy can be very, very instrumental in bringing about gender and climate change and empowering women further to be strong environment leaders as well. And here there are in fact lot of documentation is taking place in different parts of the world. Women's self-help groups are being trained to be our climate entrepreneurs, whereby even they might not be highly educated technically or they might not have PhDs, but if we are able to train the women in self-help groups, I think they are the best responders to the climate change. First-hand climate responders can be women's self-help groups. Our Anganwadi workers, our ASHA workers can be a very, very good examples in this regard. I'm not going to go so much into detail, even the slide doesn't look very, very clear. I'm just trying to tell you that gender responsive climate finance is just about government. Being critical of government is our favorite time pass. If there are floods, we blame the government. If there is a drought, we blame the government. If there is some case, we blame the government. But I think as a student of sociology, I would believe in talking about what is my role as a citizen, what is my role as a person in the community. So just to give you a feel that it is just not the government, there are industry stakeholders, multinational companies through CSR funds. They are doing a great job in this regard. We have development agencies, we have support organizations like CGR who are in the forefront for that matter. And ecofeminism is also a concept, my dear friends. So in ecofeminism, lot of focus should also be on how are you going to make sure that information technology reaches to them? How are we going to involve women more into decision making, whether it is at national level, whether it is at a global level? And we need to bring more of gender related planning at both local planning as well as national planning. So Madam was talking about what solutions should be given. So in my personal view, what should be our road ahead, especially as common people? I'm not an environmental expert, I'm just a simple student of sociology. So as a student of sociology, what I think can be done at the local level, at our community level. And I feel that फंडिंग इज वेरी वेरी इम्पोर्टेंट. खाली बोलने से काम नहीं चलेगा कि औरतों को आगे जाना है, औरतों को ये करना है. औरतों को करने के लिए थोड़ा सा द्रव्य दक्षिणा भी चाहिए. Some financial support is required, and mentorship, upskilling and mentorship. So today we are seeing the example of such kind of mentoring. Otherwise, I think we all would have been busy with our classes. So CGR coming here and talking is a very good example of mentorship. We in turn are expected to be mentors to others. Policy advocacy, very very important, because all our efforts, if they are not institutionalized, those efforts will go in vain. And research is required. More and more of research is required. We need to create more and more evidences to communicate very clearly that gender equality is possible with more and more of green innovation. So green technology has to be the order of the day. And I would just like to quickly quote this. Quote I found very very powerful, because this is by United Nations Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed. Let us not read the whole one because it is time consuming. I would just like you to concentrate. There is a very simple and effective solution for all the problems connected with climate and gender. There is a very simple and effective solution. Put women and girls in the lead. So you make them leaders, and rest all will be taken care. I think this is one strong message which she is trying to communicate. And women should be included not only because they are most vulnerable, but also because they have different perspective and expertise. And I would like to conclude by quoting very well-known UNICEF advocate Aishka Najib, who says that nothing about us without us. So if you want to make policies for women without including women, it is null and void. And one very very important thing, friends, life is a new concept. I'm sure my other friends will be talking. LIFE, life, living life for environment. So I think here women have most important role to play as mothers, as caretakers of the family. So this is what I have from my side, and I just wanted, it's a great honor for me to make my presentation in front of Neela Madam and Lakshma sir and BMR sir, whom I've always held with utmost respect. And this is what all my little learning from all of your efforts, ma'am. And I'm also very glad to share with you that almost 80 students of social science, especially sociology, we have a collaboration with Oyster. They have already visited the Earth Center, 80 students from Telangana Mahila Vishvavidyalayam, and from the time they have come back, they don't stop speaking about it. So I think you have done a great effort, and Sai Bhaskar sir has done an immense effort there. So big thank you to all of you. Because of efforts of people like you, we are able to get some little amount of fresh oxygen to breathe. So more power to all of you. And I would definitely like to thank my friend Dr. Priya for giving me this honor to make this, share my views and stand in front of such highly learned and august gathering. Thank you all so much.